taking an interesting perspective, using mother tongue. Books in mother tongue to teach children how to read and write. Why mother tongue? Because I would think Swahili, English,
Right. Well, mother tongue actually is the most cost-effective intervention to increase literacy. So research has shown that if a child understands or can relate to what you're reading to them, that increases the motivation to read. 2, it increases even parental engagement. But most of all, it's a way of cultural preservation. So at NABU, we started off with Kiswahili, which is our national language, but also a mother tongue to others, the Swahili nation, right? But also we are adding Kikuyu, we are adding Dolu, and we're adding Kamban, which we're actually putting on the web version of our app. And it's because kids right now do not know their mother tongue, but they are spoken to in mother tongue at home. Well, not in Nairobi. You know, in Nairobi, the situation is a bit different, where parents are very focused on ensuring that kids know how to speak English and they forget about Kiswahili. So for us, we want to bring that love for Kiswahili back, but also tell kids that it's okay to learn in your mother tongue because you can recognize some of these words. So when it comes to even reading, it's easier. So what do we learn to do first? We learn to listen. And we learn to speak. That's why a child, when you tell them kuja, even if they can't speak back, they'll come. They know what you're saying. And then when you tell them sasa, you just hear a child who has never been to school will say feet, because they know that's their response. They might not know how to read it, but they know that's their response. So that's something they've grown up with, they've listened to. So when it comes to reading, when they can be able to, when you're reading aloud with your child, this is now where parental engagement comes in. When you're able to read with your child, they're able to recognize these words faster because they've heard them. So it's easy for them to see that text and be like, oh, that's what I usually say, you know, and that's how the science of learning happens.
I love that mother tongue is one thing that has been suggested to us, and it's working well maybe with NABU. But you know, we have the political class. I'm sorry, I have to say this, where tribe has also been used in effect. So this child will learn their language, but of course the perversion of it is that maybe a political class will be like, now that you've learned your language, learn your culture. And then we christen these leaders as our cultural leaders, and then maybe in future it can be used against us. How best can we handle such a situation? In that it's in as much as we're educating our children in mother tongue, we are also telling them that these are the hazards and this can be weaponized against us. Yeah,
I think the term there is negative ethnicity, because what politicians and the political class sometimes do is that they want to manipulate you to think that me, I'm your person, right? I am your person. I've spoken Kenyanese there. Me, I am your
you're our person for sure. You know?
I am your person. Mimi ndio niko.
Yeah.
And so that negative ethnicity is what's making us not even want to identify with our mother tongue languages, right?
True.
But that's something that we should put aside, because who is going to preserve our culture? If Mariam, you and I and Aseli, we don't speak to our children when we get them in mother tongue, what happens to that? What happens to that language when our parents are gone?
It dies.
It fades and it dies. We had International Literacy Day the other month, and many languages are becoming extinct just because people are not speaking them. So we need to preserve our culture, but we also need to show people the positive aspects of that. Is that if you grew up in Kisumu and people are speaking the Luo around you, you're more likely to understand how the sentence structure, vocabulary in your mother tongue as compared to someone introducing English to you immediately.
And I think that's why we suffer in schools. Mariam, unajua mimi nimelelewa huko Ngwaro, tumetoka tukiongea Sheng na Kiswahili. And then you get into a school education system, and then it becomes more of you have to study a new language for you to understand what they're even saying in the first place. If you're not enjoying this conversation, I don't know what you're enjoying, right?